What's up? Welcome, my friends, to the February Q&A. I'm sorry that my face is like always so dark. Like I'm using my webcam. I don't like my screen brightness to be like super high, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like I'm not being like I'm not going to use that word. I was going to say influencer enough, but I don't want that. So you know what? Fuck my apology. I'm glad my face is dark. I'm not with the shits, bro. End tangent. All right, guys, what's going on? It's the February Q&A time. Now, it wasn't really that long ago that I got this up with the place where you can ask questions. But I apologize for that. I will make sure to reprimand that for March. That was my mistake. I just lost track of responsibility to do that because I wanted the mix and master course to be out so you could ask questions about that. But that's probably just what's going to happen next month. But anyways, yeah, I mean, we only have like 3 days left in the month. I'm probably not going to be available to do this weekend, so we kind of got to knock it out now. But there should be enough questions to where I can help, you know, those of you which have asked, and then next month I can help some more of you guys. So let's get this shit fired up. First things first, we are not going in order because where the fuck we at? There's just a much more intuitive way of going about these. All right, we are going to start with Dream Ryder right here. How did you and Charmanders make the basses in Ground Pound? Absolute slapper of a track. Love the little darkroom sounds as well. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. So I can't take credit for I cannot take credit for these basses. I didn't make them. Most of these are Charmander basses. I can show you the couple that I did, of course. I can also show you how he made his. So let's start there. First things first, we have the serum patch right here. I could play this one for you. Now let me turn off all these FX so that you can hear what it sounds like without the Ableton. So obviously this is doing quite a bit of heavy lifting, the OTT in particular, as well as the phaser. And then we have that glue compressor that's really... It looks like that's just clipping. So it looks like the OTT is doing the bulk of the work here. Anyways, inside the patch, the way that he does it, he uses a high pass 12, great filter. You know, sets the cutoff in a very similar way that I do mine. Same with the frequencies. So you have that top frequency moving down towards that bottom frequency, and that bottom frequency moving up. As far as oscillators, he's using FM here from B, although this oscillator A does stay on. Oscillator B does not have any sound coming out of it whatsoever. Or I'm sorry, that was... Of course oscillator A is going to be on. Sorry, I was getting myself confused. And then in the effects, it's pretty typical stuff. The phaser doesn't really do too much. The hyper dimension does a lot here because he has modulated the mix factor right here, and there's a shit ton of detune on this guy. So that's really doing a lot of heavy lifting. Listen. So it's giving it a lot of width, and then we just got this little delay right here that's kind of set to like a comb setting. Again, though, that's like really not doing much at all. And then we just got the multiband compressor. So it's a pretty stereotypical like FM sort of sound. I really think that the main reason why this is so good is because of the OTT pairing with this LFO. This LFO is just really like... It's a cool LFO. I honestly haven't really thought to do something like this. It's like a nice little like womp sort of LFO, but I wouldn't have thought that it would make a womp sound. I would have thought that it would just make a sort of sound, but I guess it is. It's just hyper compressed, you know what I'm saying? We could see that again by going up to this patch right here. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm hearing that I like it a lot better without the phaser. I hate phasers, man. Anyways, this patch is built very similarly, if not like completely identical. You see what I'm saying? Like the FM is in the same position. Again, we got these max detune saw waves with, you know, detune pointing towards like 1 and 2. Same thing over here, the hyper dimension. You got high rate, high detune. The mix goes up with the oscillator. And it's all the other same settings, so it looks like, you know, It really looks like he used the same patch twice. I'm actually going to save this for my own personal records. I love to dissect my homie's sounds like that. So yeah, that's pretty much the way that he does his sound design. Now in regards to the other sound design in this track, you know, there's quite a bit if you just like dig through it, which you will have the chance to after I really get in this and organize it, because there's no chance I'm giving you guys this project looking like this. I still got to get Charmander's official sign off on this though, so I'm waiting for that. But the other sound that's doing a lot of heavy lifting down here is this comb synth right here, which doesn't actually use a comb filter. I actually opted for spectral resonator right here. I think I equipped 2. I don't remember why, but this is his same exact patch, just with a spectral resonator on it, so it's almost like just having a separate channel for that spectral resonator, and that creates that deep robotic sound. You layer that with the other sound, or this one rather. That's when you get that deep, gritty sort of sound underneath, which brings in the tone. If you get rid of this, sounds a lot different. So honestly, hindsight 2020, I would have EQ'd this up a little bit different, but it's all good. All water under the bridge. But yeah, so that is the sound design in this project. Hopefully that helps and answers your question. And we're going to move directly to AD. AD asked, pre-drop vocals have been a struggle for me to find / create. How do you approach sourcing and or creating them yourself? Great question. I create like 90% of mine, whether you notice it's me or not. The goal is for you to not, because that shit's embarrassing, you know what I'm saying? But sourcing pre-drop vocals is extremely difficult. There's a reason why none don't exist, and it's because it is difficult to do. But let me play you this one, and I can explain to you how I made it. So I think that sounds pretty good, all things considered. And this is relatively simple. I think I did this on my phone. Let's listen again. I don't remember if I used my microphone or if I used my phone. I've used my phone on so many of these things, bro. So that is a viable option. If you don't have a good mic, you know, singing, obviously different story, but if you're just trying to record like fucking vocals, like pre-drop vocals, like yelling vocals, you could do that shit with an iPhone mic. It's really completely sufficient. Anyways, the thing that's doing the bulk of the work here is the processing. So we have a supercharger to start. That is to compress everything. You want these pre-drop vocals heavily compressed, because if there's that dynamic range in there, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. So we got a supercharger and this regular compressor both doing that work. You can see the regular compressor at work. So we got both of those guys at work here. Then we have our mono sandwich with our little altar boy that's changing the pitch. I decided to do it with little altar boy to get a cleaner signal rather than just turning down the semitones of the sample. Now we have this chorus ensemble right here. I like to set it to ensemble, turn up the rate a little bit, turn up the amount, set it to 100% dry wet. Here's the difference. So as you can hear, that's really where I got a lot of the voicing in this sound, is with that chorus ensemble right there. Next, we have our first OTT. I don't have it turned all the way up, but that's just sort of doing a job of squishing everything together so far that we have hard as fuck. Oh, I forgot the Camel Crusher. Camel Crusher, British Clean. I use that a lot of the time because it's just a nice little clean way to start getting some distortion into the signal. I also layered in a vocoder set to noise just to sort of give it that like possessed demonic feel. So that's in a signal chain, separate signal chain right there. Okay, an EQ just to clean up that low end, and then another OTT. This one's also set to like 67%. I don't know why I used the X for one here. And then just a little bit of EQ cleanup at the very end, specific to exactly what you need. Now I can tell you that when I'm making these, it always sounds better, always, to speak loudly. I'm literally fucking screaming here, and it just sounds like moderately intense. like chanted when you actually play the sample itself after processing. So actually getting some serious inflection out of your voice is going to help tremendously. If you just sit here and speak it the way that I'm speaking it right now, you're definitely not going to get that intensity that you're looking for, if intensity is what you're looking for. But hopefully some of these tips and tricks helped you in figuring out what exactly I do. I do, whether it's this exact chain, I don't use the same chain twice when it comes to vocals, because each vocal is a different circumstance. But these techniques are what I'm using pretty much on a regular basis for pre-drop vocals. So yeah, hope that helps, AD. All right, let us pivot to Kopil. Okay, Kopil asked, let's see if this can load now. My internet was out a second ago. Hello, coach. Let's consider you have original acapella stems, not separated though, or I'm sorry, not separated through AI. What would be good practices to apply in the vocal chain? I find myself struggling to make vocals shine through mixes no matter how much EQ or sidechain on instruments I apply. An example would be appreciated. All right, so this is, so you say like the actual acapella stems from a song, and my clarification that I needed was, do you mean raw original recorded vocal? So what I mean by that is, like, when you record something straight off the microphone, no compression, no EQ, whatever, that vocal is raw as fuck, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and that can be, that can be a reason why it's not cooperating, if you know what I'm saying there. Let me continue talking about this while we open a different project real quick. So, in that case, that's an entirely different answer to be presented. But what Kopil is asking here is if you have the actual acapella stem. Now, if you're getting an acapella stem, like for a remix, you are the legit stem. If you have the actual acapella stem, that shit's already processed. It's already buttered up. Technically speaking, all that you should need to do is work it into your track. And he's asking, how do you do that? So what I'm not necessarily certain of for you, Kopil, is it says no matter how much EQ or sidechain on instruments you apply, you're not getting it. Well, first things first, sidechain. I would opt away from sidechain for vocals. You don't necessarily want your instruments to be dropping whenever the vocal comes through. That's going to create a weird effect. You just want your vocals to be able to sit inside and on top of your instruments casually, if that makes sense. It shouldn't be as much of a struggle for you to get those vocals worked in. So let me see here. So this is my Chainsmokers remix that I literally just finished yesterday. And I want to demonstrate for you exactly what I did to the vocals, because I can you can see right here, there's nothing on them. This is the acapella stem that they sent.
We go through the same shit every night. You always swear that it's gonna change, but it never does.
So you can hear there's a little bit of sidechain reverb on there, but listen to it in my production.
You only say you love me when you're high. It's like we go through the same shit every night. You always swear that it's gonna change, but it never does. You only say you love me when you're high. It's like we go through the same shit every night. You always swear that shit's gonna change, but it never does.
All right, so once again, there's nothing on that vocal whatsoever. The only thing that I adjusted was volume. That's it. There's not even anything on the bus. This is a sidechain. This is a delay for the very last seconds of the song. This is getting rid of low end EQ. That's for nothing aside from cleanup purposes whatsoever. So there's nothing on this. It's a legit acapella stem, and I didn't need to put on a single thing. And that's usually the way that it goes if I'm getting a legit acapella stem. The most that I might ever have to do is just adjust a little bit of EQ to push the high end up a little tiny bit, 1 or 2 decibels. That's really it. Now, when it comes to what to do over here in your synths, I could show you, I do my traditional Vox cut like every single time, right? So what I'm doing is I'm looking at my vocal right here when my instruments come in, EQ 8. Oops, let's put this up here, sorry. And I'm looking for that fundamental frequency one more time. Furthest left is going to be that one right there, and it moves around a bit. We're going to find the rough average.
You only say you love me when you're high. It's like we go through the same shit every night. You always
So somewhere around, I'd say like 330 right there is like the rough spot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip this down and then, you know, drag and drop it onto my intro sounds group just like this. Look at this guy. It's the exact same thing. It's identical. 323. All right, 7 hertz, man. Shit. And I guess I made this one a little bit deeper by a little bit less than a decibel. So you see my practice. That's what I do every single time. And that, for me, is completely sufficient. Now I can say in regards to like other things that are going on here in these individual sounds. Let's listen to these individual sounds. There's barely anything on this. It's just a regular trance arb coming out of serum, high string. Both of these together, forming a chord. One's panned one way. Or no, I didn't even pan them. All right. These are just my lo-fi high string sample from one of my packs. This saw bass pluck, nothing on it. Basic serum. This mallet pluck, which I made in serum, which has a little bit more on, but still not much. It's just 2 simple FM tables, and then it runs through a compressor with hyper distortion. This is doing the bulk of the heavy lifting. That's all that our sounds are right here. We got some claps. So I would say that if all of those circumstances are similar to your own, then the one thing that you're probably lacking, which is the most, you know, common thing to the most simple practice to implement is simply adjusting the volume. If you're not getting the results that you need, quite simply your vocal might just be too quiet and you might have to jack it up a little bit. Because I really can't think of anything else. The only thing I can think of is if somehow you have your vocals and your sounds in the same bus, and there's some very heavy compression on that is essentially squashing the two together and not allowing their dynamics to flow freely. If that is the case, that's also definitely going to prohibit the way that your vocal can stick out. But if you have a completely free busing system, meaning like, look, my intro goes straight into my master, you know my master, there's not heavy compression on my master. There's clipping, but there's not heavy compression. It's a freely breathing master. Vocals go straight to the master, there's nothing on them. This intro goes straight to the master, there's nothing on it. You know, that's what we're working with here. So it's like, if I'm really not sure exactly what other tips I could necessarily give, because that simple maneuver should be sufficient, and if it's not, I would advise you to dig deeper to try to figure out what another underlying problem would be, because this solution that I just showed you should definitely solve it, if that makes sense. So hopefully that helps. I'm sorry that's probably not as technical and deep diving of an answer as you were hoping for, but I definitely think that there's other issues at stake with what's going on with you if you're having that much trouble getting the vocal to shine through. All right, let's move on to the next question. Thank you for asking that though, Kopil. That was great to get to demonstrate for everybody else. Let's move down. So let's use, all right, Stfn, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. EQ matching, how you approach referencing tracks and EQ match them in depth. Alternative, since not everyone has Ozone 5, maybe a newer version of Ozone or a completely different plugin. Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. So all the versions of Ozone, I actually believe Kopil swooped in. Yeah. Every version of Ozone, all the way up through the current one, which it might be 9, it might be something even newer. I don't fucking pay attention anymore because they're all the same goddamn thing. They all have EQ matching, so I can show you exactly what to do there. But let me see if I can show you, like, you know, how I go about it. I'm going to make a new track here. I'm not going to show you it on this one because I don't want to fuck it up. So I'm going to show you using literally 2 different tracks, like what I would do. Not even my own tracks. You'll see what I mean here in a second. once we load a new project. All right, so what I'm going to do, so my reference track of choice is, oops. Hang on one second, I got to make sure, yeah, we're straight. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to look for something. That was completely off topic, but I needed to check that folder anyway. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to get from my downloads. We're going to get this song by Kawachi. Let's get this song by Frankie Nuts. And then we're going to get my favorite reference track of all time, which is not Revolution, it's Elastic. Where's Elastic? There we go, baby. Yeah, I love Elastic. All right. All right, so here's what we're going to do. This is the way that I like to do my EQ matching, all right? Find the drop, get the drop pulled up right there. It is Revolt Be Elastic. All right, so we're going to pretend like this is my song, right? So we're going to put on some of the elements of basic master chain. Obviously, this is already mastered, but, you know, we're just going to throw on a clip shifter for the fuck of it. Turn that off, turn this off. All right, and we're going to pretend that this is my track, and this is like where my, you know, this is currently where my mix is at, but I like for, you know, my tracks to emulate Elastic by Revolt because I think that the frequency response from this track is ideal here. So, quite simply, let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm not even going to use Ozone 5, I'm going to use Ozone 7 so that I can make it a little bit more relatable for you guys. Throw on Ozone 7, wait for that bitch to load, and then we're going straight over to the equalizer, right, probably the post, yeah. So I think you need to use the post, no, you can use the regular. Either one, post equalizer or regular equalizer, they both have the matching capability right here. So as you can see, we have reference audio and target audio. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are on Elastic. That is our reference audio. This, our Frankie Nuts Galaxy input right there, that is our target audio. That's what we're saying is our track, okay? That's our target. That's what we want to use to apply. That's what we want to apply this to, if that makes sense. All right, but right now we are on Elastic. That's where this guy is. So put the plugin on Elastic, and then we're going to press capture, and we're going to play the drop. And I'm going to make sure to play it when all the drums and the sub and everything is going on, right? Like the fake out, technically I shouldn't have played. I should have just left it. In fact, we're going to stop it, clear it. We're going to start again when all the shit is going at the same time, all the elements. Let it ride. Okay, so here comes a fake out, so we're going to jump ahead and go to where I know all the sounds come in again. Back here a bit. Great, now we have a good image to work off of, okay? So what I'm going to do now is after I've finished capture recording, I'm going to drag and drop it onto our track, okay? So as you can see here by me playing it, we have a very different frequency response from this track. Both are really good mix downs. I just prefer Elastic. I'm a big fan of the way that it sounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to record our target audio, our target audio, which is our track. Come on. Now the reason why I'm repeating that note right there is because I'm trying to get that sub to line up a little bit more with the sub that we got from Elastic. It's a lower note sub, so that's what I want. Reason being because if you record a high note, it is going to not understand that both of those are the sub frequencies. It's just going to make a big divot where your sub was, and a big push where Ray's sub was. So that's pretty good. That's fine for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on matching just like that, right? And now it's kind of where I have to play cleanup a little bit. So we can slide this amount. This amount is essentially telling us what the difference is. We play it at 100%. It's going to sound like shit. Let's play it. So I am never using 100%. I'm probably going to start sliding this. Usually I go anywhere between like 30 and 50, 30 and 60 really, something around there. And it depends on, you know, the smoothness. It depends on other factors. But we're going to slowly start to slide this up and we're going to see what's going on. There's a lot of discrepancy going on here. So what I'm going to do is, you know, I'm looking, I see that divot right there. See a little divot right there, and I might emulate those. When I say emulate those, what I mean is I'm going to take a little notch and just like tuck it in right there, to sort of emulate what's going on there so that I don't have to turn that amount as far up, because we have very harsh other areas such as this lump right there and this lump right there. I still want these smaller adjustments, but I can't get that through my amount, so I'm going to use little EQ notches instead. So I'm going to use this guy. So now we got that 5 and 7 in place right there, as you can see. Let's go back to our matching. Let's slide this amount down a little bit. Let's just stick them. Let's stick them like right around here. I think like 25 is just good, and we'll tighten up the smoothness a bit. Somewhere around right in there, because I'm seeing that there is some you know, way too much right around in here compared to our reference. Now the other thing I'm going to do is we essentially have to reflatten. The way that I like to look at it is reflattening this what the fucking hell. There we go. Yeah. We got to reflatten what's going on over here, because this is going to fuck up our sub and everything about it. So I like to just go in with some EQs and try to make this as flat as possible in this range again. All right, and then so we got all this high end right here, because this might be like a shitty version that somehow I got. In which case it might be downsampled a little bit and there's not as much high end. I do not want this crazy peak right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on another band. We're just going to low pass that out of there just like that, real nice and gentle. Let's see if we can use oh Jesus, I don't want to do either of those. I definitely don't want that. All right, we're going to use flat, I guess. This should be fine. All right, and I'm seeing this whole... Oh, shit, I didn't want to move that. Stick that back there. Let's activate another band right here, and I want to just pull this down a little tiny bit right here. Just to give this a little bit more emphasis again, as I said, right? And that's pretty much it. So let me make this a key map so that I can A/B it. Really does not sound much different at all. But again, I use the EQ matching because I don't have 100% trust in my ears. I definitely trust a track that I know for a fact goes crazy when I play it live, when I listen to it in the car, when I listen to it on earphones, etc. I trust that a lot more than my ears, especially after I've been working on a song for a really, really long period of time. So that's why I use that. So that was one way. Let's look at seeing if we could do it to like this Kaiwachi track too. See, fuck it. So we're going to do the exact same process one more time, right? Let's go ahead and Ozone 7. I'm going to go a little bit quicker through this time. Post equalizer matching. All right, so that's good right there. Drag and drop up here. And we're actually going to try to get a bit more loudness out of this because it seems like this track isn't exactly very loud. Let's put on a clip shifter. All right, and where are we at here? Our audio. Again, we're pretending that the Kaiwachi track is my track. So right off the rip, if I set the amount to 0, what are the differences I see? In our track, we have a massive peak right in here that we don't have in Ray's track. You see, look right there. It touches, whereas otherwise it's completely separated. There's a lot less of a high-end peak right in this like sort of 16K-ish range. I like that a lot in Ray's tracks. It makes the high cymbals just poke nicely so that you can really hear them. Makes everything feel nice and smooth. Mid-range is a little bit warbled. The 1K, which is our true mid-range, is a little bit dampened, so I want to get that boosted, etc. So yeah, there's all sorts of parts in this that are severely different. Now I'm going to actually go back through and record a little bit more because I want to try to get that sub-level up a little bit more so that it matches. So that's close enough. That's fine. This is accurate. All right, so let's start matching this shit up. All right, we're gonna go to digital here. Right? No, we're not gonna do that. It's got to be analog, right? I don't fucking know. Let's look at this. Yeah, no, we don't want any phase here. No phase. Why the fuck? Why would we want that? I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough, man. All right, we're just gonna leave it on digital. It's fine. I don't really give a fuck. All right, let's start really going in on this. I'm doing it just by ear right now. Alright, so I think that's fine right here, somewhere around 35. So I'm gonna pull this down a little tiny bit more. We're just gonna try to re-level this low end right here. Fuck. Oh, whatever, give me this. Bell. Please. Flatten this guy right around there. Gonna add a little bit more grip to that 1K that I saw was lacking earlier. So let's go like that. Now I'm also gonna go and add another band. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna get that low pass going on in here. God, I hate that. I fucking hate that. This does not have a nice low pass like the other one. Ozone 5. Suppose I could set it like that. No. Okay, we're gonna tug down this a little tiny bit more. We hear a pretty substantial difference now when we're playing it. Now again, I'm not thrilled with this peak right here. I want to pull this down just using a regular band. So one other thing, this is just me going off on tangent a little bit, but I would actually add a little bit more imaging into this too. So I'm going to go like this. Just going to do some standard image pushing. That. Alright, so yeah, so anyways, that's pretty much good. And let's play Elastic one more time. And ours. Might drop the amount a little tiny bit more. That snare's really fucking it up because of that weird little peak. But anyways, that's the gist of it. That's the gist of how I go about my EQ matching. It's not like a super straight forward process. It does take a little bit of like nuance and understanding how to read it. But hopefully that helps you understand a little bit better what I'm looking for when I'm going in and doing that. But yeah, it's just a polishing mechanism for like the very, very end, because I don't trust my ears to get a perfect EQ response. I trust, I trust using a track that I believe in quite a bit, a lot more. So yeah, that's just my little demonstration. All right, let's move on to Philippe, your French brother. That's cool with me. Might not totally be clear. You're fine. First, thanks for everything you do. I appreciate that a lot, man. I feel like you have no idea how amazing and helpful it is. I appreciate that even more. Thank you, brother. How do I approach layers in general? How do you know a sound needs another layer, and how do you mix it so it fits with the first/main layer? All right, so let's go back to that Chainsmokers track, and we'll talk about that. Let me read the rest of yours, though. Secondly, I can answer this without having to look at a track. About your mixing class, EX minus 4 LUFS, do the points provided apply to all genres? Nope, absolutely not. Let me talk about it. Are you looking for the same loudness if I decide to make a Petite Biscuit type of song, for example? Not even close. Let me even listen, like, I want to see. Not even close. Literally night and day. I bet that track doesn't even hit negative 12 LUFS. There is a massive difference between what the electronic music industry, especially bass music, and let me repeat that, especially bass music, believes is the appropriate level of loudness compared to the rest of the music industry. Okay? The rest of the music industry, pop music, indie music, you name it, rock music even, they are mixing to a significantly lesser standard than we are. Because the whole nature of electronic music is loud, big, energy, right? Even if you're listening to like fucking like, tech house, compared to dubstep, it's not nearly as loud, big, energy, but it is more than, like if you're listening to like Fergie, you know what I'm saying? Dance music just has that higher standard, and bass music in particular has a way higher standard. Negative 4 LUFS, yeah. So absolutely not. You're not looking for that same loudness across the board. You're looking for substantially less, and you can reference whatever kind of track you're looking to make and be like, yo, what are the LUFS of that? It's also substantially easier to do a mix down when you have a lower threshold for the number of LUFS that you need in your track. That being said, it's a lot easier to fuck up your mix down a lot because you're not held to that same high standard. You can always make a track quieter and still sound really fucking good. You cannot always make a track louder and still sound really fucking good. So if you're able to mix at negative 4 LUFS, even if you decide that you want to dial it back from there, your sound is only going to be better going back down, whereas the inverse is not true. So hopefully that answers your question there. Let's talk about layers real quick, though. How do you know a sound needs another layer? I'm going to give you an answer that's probably not the best answer I could give, so I'm going to try to think of something else to provide. You know when a sound needs another layer when a sound just isn't full enough by itself, or you want to accentuate that sound with more detail that you can't get from that sound itself. Let me show you some examples. So the majority of my layers in this track come from, they're probably in the leads and the basses. All right, so let me play you my bass bus real quick. So if I were to just solo one of these massive patches, say for example this one, that feels a little bit cold to me. It doesn't have that full warm sound. So instinctively I'm like, all right, I need some more. So I incorporated the saw bass. And then another massive on top. This one's pretty quiet, you can barely even hear it. This one, this is a tone. Another tone. And as you can see, it just slowly starts to fill in those gaps that were, you know, originally there when I only had this guy. So at this point, it's pretty much just instinctual. Is that a fucking word? Instinctive? It's pretty much just instinct for me now at this point to be like, yo, if I'm making a song that needs to be big and have energy, I gotta have layers. Like 1 or 2 layers isn't gonna fucking cut it. Like bring in your layers and you know, mix it around so that it sounds good. So I kind of just know that when I need energy, I need layers. Hopefully that sounds like an appeasing answer. Let's go look at these leads. These leads are also a very good example of layers. So I really had to dig in for these. But here's my main lead right here. It's this vocal chop. I gotta see something real quick, sorry. Sidetracked. Damn, I already turned this in hindsight. It would have been good to put a little cut right there. I missed that. That's fine, whatever. So here's the layers that I did here. I did a low layer, did a harmony layer, and I did this peppa sound up here. Which is acting as the high layer, okay? So all these layers together sound like this, and then there's a reverb down there too. And that sounds full and rich, you know what I'm saying? Compared to just this. So again, it's the same premise. It's like when I know that I want to have big energy sounds, I gotta bring in more layers. If I'm trying to make more minimal shit, I can get away with less layers. Let's look at this this lead and this drop over here too. We have this this chompy womp. Now underneath that, I think I only have like 1 or 2 things. I have these guys. And the purpose of these isn't necessarily to fill out more space, it's just to provide that detail. Remember what I said? It's like if I want a bit more detail, they just have a little bit of a different feel to them than this. And then we have that sort of low chug sound, similar to the ground pound sound. And yeah, that again, it's just all of these sort of fill out, and that's Whereas inversely, if I just go, just feels a little bit dry, you know what I'm saying? So I know that if I need energy, I need a couple of other layers in there to really just fill that out. I hate to say that because it's like, how do you know if you need more layers? If you're making energy music, just assume it. But it's kind of true. It's kind of true. So hopefully that answers your question there. Bonus question, what's the feeling when a legend plays your track in a big festival? It's crazy. Oh, I still love it. If I see anybody honestly playing my music, it makes me very happy. It's never something I take for granted, because it's just really, really cool that I can sit here and make stuff in my spare room, with my pair of headphones and my PC, and the same Ableton Live as all you guys, right? And people are playing it. I just find that very surreal to me. So, thank you, Philippe, for that question. Philip, appreciate that a lot. Let's look at Hunter real quick. Hunter, you asked, when first developing an idea, how do you get the flow and feeling right for the song? Do you sound design to make the basis fit the flow, or do you work from patches and sounds you already have and develop those into full ideas? Obviously, it won't be the same every time, but working from an idea in my head to track is a struggle sometimes. Thanks a ton. Keep killing it, dude. Yeah, so I'm very vehement about, I appreciate your thanks in advance, by the way, man. I'm very vehement about, making my job as easy as humanly fucking possible, especially when I need to write, okay? So, for example, let me play you this lead one more time. So that, I'm gonna make sure I click no. So that, I had that idea in my head, and if you actually go and watch the video of me making that drop, you'll see that I literally like made that noise with my mouth before I even put any synth down. So I knew what I wanted as far as flow and general sound, and then it became an idea of making it. So I'm going to show you exactly what I did for the most part. And again, you can see it in that video, but I want to relay it for you here as well. So I went into my serum patches, and again, I've made all of these guys here. I pulled out Wave-1 because I thought that was the closest to the sound that I wanted. Played my note, froze it up, and then we got this sound right here. And then what I did was I put on Wonky Chug Step to try to get that sort of wishy-washy sound effect, sort of like the Charmander spaces, that just like detune airy feel. Flattened it again. And then I did something along these lines, right? So now I'm like, all right, so I have a decent sound here. Let's map it out. Let's actually get it going. We can destroy the sound a little bit. I'll make up for it later. So we went. I think I just made this one half, and this one half as well. Oops, full length that, cut this one. Now let's cut that, throw this over here. So like I said, I already had the idea in my head. It was just about really getting that flow onto, into the DAW. And, as you can see here, I was able to do that in about 2 minutes just by, using a preset that I had, modding it a little bit, having an idea of how I wanted to get that sound. And then, after you do that, you can really jump in and be like, all right, like I want to make this sound cool. How can I do that? That's when I was like, all right, let's add this vocoder. Really get that wet sound. Let's add a frequency shifter in here like this. we got a ring mod in there too, like this right here. So as you can see, the only reason I'm demonstrating this so thoroughly is just because, like, as you can tell, it's very easy to make the sound cool after the fact, you know, if you know what you're doing with that, and then you could just get that flow down. Priority number one is just get that flow down, and you kind of just, you said you had ideas for that in your head. So hopefully me like showing you this example of workflow helps you a little bit in understanding, like, you know, what you could do. I like to use samples. I like to use, you know, the presets that I have. I am not a very big fan of thinking of an idea and then trying to design a whole ass sound after that. I'd rather find a starting point, whether that's a preset, you know, just something similar, right? So it's like, say that I wanted another sound for whatever reason, you know, like there's all sorts of ways to mod sounds. I could get something. I get something here. It's just something to start with, you know what I'm saying? Freeze that up. Flatten that. Oh shit, I already did that. Then I could go, you know, grab this. Just want like a random bass sound, right? So I'm gonna be like this. And say I want to go, let's actually get another one. Yeah, and we're just like grabbing random shit. You know, you guys know I love the ivory pack. Pull this in tight, like this. Like this one, pull this in tight. I don't know, you see what I'm getting at. But anyways, that's the reason I'm just demonstrating all this, is so that you can see that the flow is priority number one, baby. Sounds are very, very easy and accessible. You saw all the tools that I used, right? I just used tones to warp. I used wonky choke step. I used some ivory samples. I used a fucking preset of a random pack that I bought off the internet like months ago for like $10. See what I'm saying? All these are just tools at your disposal, and unless, you know, it's like, there's days where I think sound design is important. You jump in, you hit some sound design. But I do not think that writing in sound design You know, unless you're making a very special sound for a very particular reason in a song, I think for the most part that's counterintuitive. You're better to work off of something that you already have, use a special sound that you've already made, and incorporate it that way, if that makes sense. Let's see, does that answer your question? You sound design to make the bass. Yeah, that kind of answers your question. You asked if I sound design on the fly or if I, you know, work from what I obviously have. So hopefully that answers your question there a little bit. But the flow is priority number one, and you really want to prioritize that. So I think, you know, just like grabbing some cool samples and getting the patterns right, the flow right. That should take precedent over sitting there trying to make, like, you know, the craziest sound in the world. And as you get better at sound design too, that becomes faster, and you can make sounds that, you know, you might be capable of doing that on the fly like that. But I definitely think that making sounds separate is a better move, especially for beginners. All right. BrLx, less of a question all, but I'm also trying to get into Blender. Thank you, Hunter, for your question, by the way. It would be dope to see more 3D Blender tutorial stuff if you're interested, like you did make those Disciple videos. I did not make those ones. I believe that was Vishal. I made the teasers for, like, my my mixtape. But anyways, I'm going to keep Blender stuff off of here for now, simply just as to not alienate the, you know, the people that I have here for music. Also, that's just like a little bit too much for me to take on. I'm still not necessarily a pro at Blender either, so it feels a little bit like a conflict of interest if I were to do that. So I'm going to refrain from that for right now, but I'm glad that you're trying to get into Blender. If you're interested in some serious Blender shit, go sub to Ian Hubert's Patreon. He has a lot of patrons, so he's capable of making his patron even less expensive than mine. And it's a fantastic program. I'm a sub over there. It's fantastic. So that's my recommendation. But thank you for probing that interest anyway. All right, Brent. How do you make tracks sound good when you export them to low bitrate streaming services like SoundCloud? I've been hitting a negative 3.5 left loudness. When I upload it to SoundCloud, it sounds like hot garbage. All right, so first thing, the checklist, make sure that when you're hitting your negative 3.5 left loudness, that is monitored post-clipper, okay? Meaning, like, here's your clipper right here, and then here is your loudness analyzer. It comes later in the signal chain. Make sure that that's your actual reading, because if your loudness analyzer comes before your clipper, you're definitely not actually getting neg 3.5, and I could completely understand why. If you're getting neg 3.5, but you're getting that reading before clipping occurs, you're probably realistically getting something closer to like neg 5 or neg 6. And it might also just be a rough mix down that could be made very, very shitty through SoundCloud's processing. That being said, if you do have your clip shifter in the right place and your loudness analyzer afterwards in the signal chain, and you're getting negative 3.5 and it still sounds shitty on SoundCloud, SoundCloud still kind of sucks, man. Their shit just sounds rough compared to everywhere else. Like my remixes that I just put up on SoundCloud just the other day, like they don't sound great, like compared to if I listen to them on Dropbox. They just sound a little bit crunchier. So, like, you know, it kind of is what it is. If it sounds like drastically different, then I would say there's probably something that's a problem somewhere deeper in there. So I'm curious to hear your answer to that for next month's Q&A. Maybe you can provide a little bit more context depending on what your circumstance is there. But, like, you know, listen. Just doesn't sound nearly as clean as like it should. I know you guys have heard that song and stuff. So, but yeah. Anyways, that's what we're looking at. Like for that, it's just kind of one of those things where you got to deal with it because there's really no way to mitigate it, unfortunately. I can tell you this: just make sure that upon no circumstances ever do you click that. Where is it? There's like a master button, the SoundCloud mastering. Never let that happen. All right. All right, Enkido. It's kind of weird. Let's migrate over to a couple second question, which are what are your rendering settings, bit depth, dither, etc. I can show you right here. Let's just hit File, Export. So render track master, renders loop, no. Convert to mono, fuck no. Normalize, fuck no. Create an analysis file, hell no. Sample rate, 44.1. Encode PCM we have on, file type WAV, bit depth 24, not 32. Dither options, no dither, no encoding MP3. That's it. That's what I use. That's what I've used for years. I genuinely don't know like anything else that I could possibly do. Dithering makes everything sound like shit. Bit depth 24 is what I've been recommended to use and have stay there. 32 I get yelled at sometimes because certain platforms do not support 32-bit music. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we export. And that kind of works in tandem with Brent. You could try those settings as well, and it might potentially help. And then Enkido, it's kind of weird. I wanted to ask you about that maybe 2 or even 3 years ago, but I just forgot or whatever. Never mind. How brave were you when you dropped out of high school and decided to build your life with music? I mean, what thing could give so much confidence to do that and not be scared at all? Besides, sorry if I made language mistakes. No, you're good, buddy. So I didn't drop out of high school. I dropped out of college. And the thing with me was the way that I did it is the way that I would vouch as well. Not just because I did it, but I'm not the person that likes to take blind leaps of faith into anything, and I didn't. I was making music for several years before I dropped out to go into music, and I don't want to. I don't ever want to act like I was like, there's always some degree of taking a leap of faith, right? But to be completely transparent, I had management and I had an agent lined up ready to go that was like, yo, if you stop going to school, we will put you on the road for, the first several months of the entire year. If that goes well, we're going to continue to put you on the road for the whole year. So I had touring right out of the gates, right under my nose, you know what I'm saying? That I was able to tap into. So it wasn't necessarily a blind leap of faith for me. It wasn't like I was just like, fuck it, I need more time. I'm going to just like say fuck all my responsibilities and go 100% in on music. Was not like that at all for me. It was much more of I have waited as long as I possibly could to pull the trigger on this while, still fulfilling all my other responsibilities with school and athletics and all that other stuff. Before I was like, okay, I finally have to start sacrificing if I want to continue to do this. And that's the way that I would recommend most people do it. And I do know a lot of people that do it that way and are very successful from it. Again, that's just my preference. I don't necessarily believe in just like saying fuck all and going balls to the walls in something that you don't necessarily even have like a plan for. You can always multitask. You can always do that along with your current responsibilities and, make a pivot when it makes complete and utter sense to do so rather than, pivoting when there's not necessarily anything to pivot onto aside from a pipe dream. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't really take that much bravery. I had to like tell my coaches and stuff that I wasn't going to be competing for them anymore at my D1 college. They were kind of pissed. That sucked, but it's like, it is what it is, Like I wasn't the first motherfucker to walk off a college track program. Definitely not going to be the last either. So, it's like I waited until my opportunity was fully developed and present before I acted on it, not premature. And yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. But I think we've mowed through all of these. So I'm going to go get some water because my voice is like gone. And I'll get this uploaded and time stamped and all that fun stuff for you guys. Thank you guys so much for asking questions. It's seriously my pleasure to be able to go through and help you guys as much as I can with these pieces that you're getting hung up on. It's a very easy way for me to directly interact with you guys and get you what you need from a learning standpoint. So thank you for asking, and we will do this again probably in about a week for March. So thank you guys, and I will see you next time. Peace!